Hello everyone. Initially, we'd like to say a big thank you for purchasing our annual expense tracker. We're a small business that prides ourselves on creating simple but effective Google Sheet financial planners, and your purchase enables us to improve and continue creating. So to begin with, I'd like to show you some of the key features that are going to help you track your finances and show you how to use the annual expense tracker spreadsheet. So the first step is to input your currency. I'm based within the United Kingdom, so I'm going to change that to pound sterling, and that will change the currency symbol across the whole of the spreadsheet. So the next step is to input your start balance and your start month. The start balance is any money that you might currently have in a checking account that you want to be inputted into the spreadsheet, and the start month is the month that you want the annual tracker to start on. So for a start balance, I'll put in £150, and the start month I'll put in January 2024. Now you can see on the annual summary tab that we've got a start balance here of £150, and the period is January 24 to December 2024. I'm only using January just to give you a sort of full annual overview, but say you're in the month of June right now, do feel free to start the tracker in June, and that's also okay. The next step is to put in income, expenses and savings. I'm going to go ahead and pop some values in these categories now. So I've gone ahead and filled in all of the categories now on the page. So I've put in a income. I put £2,400 from a primary income, but if you've got more than one income, do feel free to log those here. For savings, I've put a few different saving goals, one being a house deposit of £8,000, one being £500 towards a pet, £2,000 for a holiday and £10,000 for a wedding. I've also filled in the expense categories and the main categories. So this is a good way to categorize your expenses for the spreadsheet. So say you've got, rent, gas, electric and internet, they're all a sort of housing category. So I've put them all under the same category of housing. And then sort of similar for fuel and repairs under transport, and then put a budget against each. But do feel free to, assign these main categories however is suitable for you and however makes sense for you in your current situation. So the next thing I want to show you is the transaction log, and this is where you'll put in all of your transactions throughout the course of the year that will be used to populate the subsequent monthly trackers and also the savings tracker and the annual summary. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a transaction on the 3rd of January 2024, and that can be £700 towards rent. So to be able to assign that to rent, I've got a drop down here which is taking the income, expense and savings from the setup page that we just filled in. So rent is an expense, so I've assigned as an expense, and as you can see we've automatically got a drop down highlighting those expense categories. Once I click rent, you can see that the main category housing has automatically been populated, and you could also put in some brief notes there, or some more comprehensive notes if you wish. The brief notes will be displayed on the subsequent monthly trackers, but I'll show you that in a second. I'm now going to go ahead and put in a bunch of transactions for the whole course of the year, just so I can show you how the tracker works from an annual point of view. So as you can see, I've now gone ahead and filled in a bunch of transactions which could have taken place over the course of a year, just to give you a bit of an idea what the annual overview will look like. I've also added a note on this specific takeout expense of dinner with friends, just to show you how this is going to work in the monthly tabs. The next thing I want to show you is one of the monthly overviews. So if we take a look at January, we can see that we've got £2,400 as an income, and that's because we had a £2,400 income that month. And then we've also got all of our expenses populated with dinner with friends brought through as well, and then all of our sort of expense categories populated as well, alongside all of the charts around the outside. So just to talk through these a little bit, These expenses here are your individual transactions that are taking place, and these are the expenses aggregated into the specific specific category. So we can see we had two Tesco expenses of 188 and 75, and we can see that we actually spent £263 that month, which is a little over the sort of budget we assigned for Tesco. There's also a drop down here which enables you to flick between the category and the main category. So if I just click that, you can now see that we're only looking at the main categories, which is a smaller number of categories, and the charts around the outside are also working against that drop down as well. We've also got spend over time. So this is the spend throughout the month, so how much you're spending on specific days, and that's visualized within the remaining balance over time on how your sort of remaining balance is going down throughout the course of the month. We can see that we had a total outgoings of £1,713, which was 71% of our income, and we've got a remaining balance of £687. We can then see those expense categories visualized here. So we've got housing, eating out, transport and groceries. So we can see that housing is, naturally our largest expense, and then how those expenses are trending against budget. So how housing was going against our budget, and we budgeted bang on for that. A little over on our eating out, a little under on our transport, and a little over on our groceries as well. So perhaps didn't have as much left over as we wanted for that specific month. But all in all, that's the sort of monthly tracker. You can see that February is also populated, and so is March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and so forth, just because we filled in all of that data within the transaction log itself. The next thing I want to show you is the annual summary overview. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of sort of data and visualizations on this page, and this is just to give you a comprehensive overview of your tracking of your spending and enabling you to track your spending throughout the course of a whole year. So we've got initially the period at the top left, which is January 24 to December 24th. Which was 12 months from the start date that we inputted on the setup page. We've also got a start balance of £150 because that's what we inputted on the setup page, and then we've got a sort of a cumulative running total of that balance depending how we performed at the end of each specific month. We've also got a tracking of income, expenses, savings, residuals, so how much is left over, end balance, an average daily spend, so to give you an idea of how much you're spending each day throughout those specific months, and then the number of transactions. We've got a total overall income of £26,000, £4,649 of that went into savings, a total residual of minus £494, and an average daily spend of £74. The first chart along the top right is income and spend. So the green bars are your spend, and the brown line is your income. So you can see, some months we're under our income, and some months, we're overspending a little bit. The next is end balance over time. So that's a sort of running total of how your end balance is and whether you're, performing above or in a negative. So you can see that in July that there was, in August there was a sort of increasingly amount of expenses which have left them in a bit of a sticky situation in October, but slowly starting to recover throughout the course of the year and towards the end of the year. We've then got a drop down here, and within this drop down we've got expenses, savings, residual income, daily spend, and transactions. So transactions showing the number of transactions per month. Expenses is showing the sort of value and how much you're spending on your expenses throughout the course of the month, how much you're saving, how much you've got left, and your daily spend as well. We then have a expenses section at the bottom of the page here. So again, there's quite a lot going on here, so I'm just going to talk through these a little bit. So we've got expenses, which is looking at those expense categories that we identified previously. We've got the we've got top 5 expenses initially, so it's showing your most expensive 5 expenses, and then we've got a more holistic overview of those categories and main categories, which you can change there. And you might have noticed that when I changed that back to main categories, similarly to the monthly pages, it changes in line with what you've selected here. So just to show you main categories, we're looking at top 5 expenses over time and where that money's going proportionately throughout the course of the year. Top 5 expenses breakdown, so just to visualize the majority of where our money is going, so we can see a lot's going on housing, quite a lot's going on eating out, so that's perhaps something that's not always necessarily essential. And then we've also got expenses as a percentage of income over time, so showing how much you're spending versus your income over time. We've then got some scorecards along the top as well. So we've got total expenses, so £26,000 went on expenses, and that was 101% of our income. Total takeout transactions, so these two scorecards here are determined by the drop down here. So if you wanted to look at rent, you can see that you had 12 rent transactions, so perhaps a monthly rent transaction. If you wanted to look at gas, you can see how you're performing in gas. You can see again you had 12 gas transactions. Gas was 4.2% of the income, and in August, for instance, there was a much lower spend on gas, and perhaps that was because it was a summer month and there wasn't that sort of heating requirement. But yeah, naturally you can go through your different categories here and choose which one you want to look at. So you could have a look at takeout, for instance, and see that some months you're spending more on takeouts, and some months you're spending less. The last thing I wanted to show you was the savings tracker. So this savings tracker is taking those savings goals that we inputted on the setup page. So we inputted a house deposit, pet, holiday, and wedding. Along the top we can see total savings balance, so this is the total amount that was assigned to savings throughout the course of the year, so that was £4,649. Total goal remaining was 15,862, so there's still quite a long way to go to be able to reach those goals. Closest to goal was pet, largest pot was a house deposit. Percentage of goal, so this is looking at how your goal is performing versus what you've actually saved. So we can see, for instance, pet, we wanted to save £500, but we've actually saved 511, so that's actually 102%, so that's a little bit over our actual goal. But for the wedding, for instance, we've still got quite a long way to go. In here, you're also welcome to add in some goal month start balances as well if you wish. So say, you knew that you wanted to reach that goal in, say, January 2026, you could add that in, and then you could also put a start balance in the event that you've already put some money away towards that goal. We've also got savings breakdown and save versus goal along the right hand side. So this is showing the breakdown of your savings pot. So we can see we've got quite a lot in the house deposit, and quite a lot saved towards a holiday as well. And then this last chart is showing how you're performing against that goal and how far away where you are to reaching that. So this tool is useful if you're wanting to understand how long it's going to take you to reach a specific financial goal, and how long that's going to take depending on how much you budget to save each month. So in this example, I'm going to put a starting month of May 2024 and then a goal month of May 2026. I use pound sterling, so I'm going to leave that as pounds, but feel free to change that to whatever currency is comfortable for you. I'm going to put a starting amount of £150, a monthly saving amount of £200, and a saving goal of £4,000. So say you've got a specific financial goal in mind that you want to work towards, this tool kind of supports you in working out how long it's going to take you to get there. So in the savings forecast here, we can see that we reach £4,000 in December 2025. But, you know, let's say that in the sort of what if forecast, if we were to save an additional 20% each month, so an extra £40 each month, how long is it going to take us to get there under this sort of budgeting? And we can see that we reach that goal in September 2025. We can then also see in the chart along the right hand side, you know, how that sort of trends over time. And then we can see in the scorecards that for the standard forecast, we reach the goal in December 2025. For the what if forecast, we reach it in September 2025. So this is a great way just to understand and almost predict, forecast your savings over an extended period of time. So that's our annual expense tracker in a nutshell. I'd like to conclude by saying thank you once again for your support. In addition to this video, we've got a comprehensive README page which provides written instructions if you need to quickly revisit. But if you have any further issues, please do feel free to contact us directly on Etsy.